on the issue of insurance. The first question is to Councilmember Thomas. Last week we saw parts of Jefferson Parish getting a 35% drop in insurance because the parish has improved its insurance rating. New Orleans still has a Class 7 rating. People are saying it's just too expensive to live here. We're seeing people move away, citing the price of insurance. If you're elected mayor, how will you, one, bring insurance rates down, and then two, convince people that New Orleans is affordable enough to live?
Well, first of all, thank you, and I want to thank WDSU for this opportunity, as well as my colleagues who are offering themselves to run for office. Mimic what Jefferson Parish has done. Meet with those officials to talk about how they did it. Continue to meet with the State Insurance Commission and the governor and the legislature. Talk about how do we collectively bring down rates. How do we take advantage of the fortified roofing program that the senator has talked about? We know that if you can show that there's 25% participation in a certain area, insurance rates automatically go down. As well as being the leader, as the mayor, at some point, the mayor has to talk about what that office does to make sure this city is affordable. Insurance rates and the increase in insurance rates, as well as the cost of living, is increasingly making New Orleans more and more affordable. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's sit down with the officials in Jefferson Parish, mimic what they did, and make it apply to New Orleans.
Councilmember Duplessis, the question is to you. 1 minute. Shall I repeat the question?
Senator?
I'm sorry, Senator Duplessis, the question is to you. 1 minute.
Can you repeat it? I'm
what would you do to help bring down insurance rates and also make it affordable for people to live in the city?
Thank you, Gina. Well, we know that insurance is crushing individuals, is crushing the real estate market, and it is absolutely one of the reasons why so many people have left our state. I'm a trained attorney. I'm the only attorney in this race. I will continue to do the work that I've been doing at the state legislature. I've served on the Louisiana Senate Insurance Committee, where I've been a champion, and I've fought in a very hostile climate to do everything possible to bring down homeowners' insurance rates. That means working with all of my colleagues, particularly on the fortified roof program. I've been very vocal about my plan to create a local program to support the state program so that we can get those 25% of rooftops fortified in the parish of Orleans to try to bring down insurance costs. Also, we know that when we work with community, community usually knows best. That means partnering with community organizations like Healthy Community Services and Angela Chalk and the Greater Treme Consortium and working with community to let them lead the way for flood insurance.
Councilmember Moreno, the question is to you. How would you bring down insurance rates and make New Orleans more affordable so people can stay?
Thank you, Gina, and thank you to WDSU for having all of us today. First, let me just say that so often it's been said that, hey, cities really can't do anything about the insurance crisis. I disagree with that. And that's why my administration will create the Office of Insurance Justice so that we can create the right level of policies to really assist the people of New Orleans with this insurance issues. And when it comes to this particular office, one of the things that we need to explore is a potential partial tax abatement for individuals who do want to invest in a fortified roof. And then also really working closely with our legislative delegation to come up with new ideas that potentially could move forward positive legislation that not only could help the people of New Orleans, but really could help people from all across the state of Louisiana. But what we are seeing is that if we look at certain areas and put fortified roofs in certain areas, what you will do is you will bring the overall cost of insurance throughout entire neighborhoods down. And so that's the level of strategy that we really need to be looking at. And already I've been talking to the folks over in Jefferson Parish to see what we can